Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tech-Mex podcast. We're your hosts, Eric and Mando, and this is episode Setenta. We're bringing you the top stories in Bitcoin tech and wealth so you too can wake, clean, and live. Dale. Dale.
You sound like those stupid like signs say kitchen, bathroom. Like, bro, I already know that is the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, we've got an interesting story down. Actually, that's at the very end, but we'll get there.
All right. So this week, though, in Bitcoin, Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, it was named by Forbes the Bitcoin Alchemist. What do you make up for that?
I think it's pretty cool that they're calling him the Bitcoin Alchemist. And if I could see my screen here, I can share what this looks like here on the cover of Forbes. You know, they're like, why
Not bad,
Michael
actually.
Saylor's MicroStrategy is a brilliant blueprint for manipulating traditional finance to harness the pixie dust of the crypto mania. That's a mouthful.
Sometimes Forbes has lost the last few. They have a list for all of the different billionaires under 30. Like they have the Theranos person, right? They have the FTX.
That's right.
So it's like they always put these people, and hopefully that doesn't happen to Saylor, right? Because I do feel that he's a bit over leveraged. I don't know how he's going to be able to disentangle that leverage and deleverage, but it might affect the market in some point because he owns a big chunk now of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think in general, just taking a step back and just thinking about, okay, we've got Michael Saylor here. He's on the cover of Forbes. This just really reinforces where Bitcoin is on its journey right now. It reinforces its legitimacy and really the potential for the high returns that are coming up, right? So I think it's going to give investors that maybe have been thinking about Bitcoin, it's going to give them more confidence because Forbes is putting Michael Saylor, which is, the biggest champion of Bitcoin out there on their cover. So I think it's pretty good. He did a lot in terms of getting or promoting that strategy of putting Bitcoin into your as a reserve, basically as part of your company holdings. So in MicroStrategy, they've got over 450,000 actual Bitcoin that's worth around $50 billion. So he's up there with Satoshi in terms of like the Bitcoin wealth. Satoshi's got a million coins, but he's about halfway there. So it really is like a huge stash that he has.
The part that I like though is that he's doing what he's preaching, right? It's like, hey, don't care about the price right now. Even if it's 100K, I'm still buying. There is no second best asset. It's just like Bitcoin, right? And again, he just continued to DCA. So I believe that now his price is in the 60s, like his average price per Bitcoin. And I remember he has been writing that up. At one point was 10, 20, right? And so on, because he continues to buy a big chunk. He has it through the company and also personally. Also, he has his own stash. It's the ultimate whale, right? So, as you said, Satoshi has that, but I feel that maybe now with IBIT, right, BlackRock, the U.S. government, and MicroStrategy, those are basically the ultimate whales.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, having there's a lot of benefits to having all of this Bitcoin, right? There's a lot of upside there, but it could potentially be increased risk and market impact. I know you mentioned that his average price is about in the 60K range. So, you never know. I don't think it's going to get back down to that point, but if it does, then that's kind of a shaky area for him in the company. But right now, I mean, most people are still celebrating on the high from December 4th, where Bitcoin hit 100K for the first time, and that's really what this article is also about. It's really celebrating that big milestone in cryptocurrency or Bitcoin history. It really shows that it's grown a lot, that the market is accepting it as a relevant place to invest. And I mean, it just shows that it's got high returns here.
I I'm also empathetic for a lot of people that they cannot get a 1 Bitcoin because now it's a
Yeah.
100K though. It's like how many people have like 100K laying around? And if that's your net worth, it's like you will be a maxi to
Hmm.
be able to get a all in right in Bitcoin. So more traditional people, they're trying to put maybe I don't know, 2%, 5%, right? Just kind of being very conservative in our eyes. So, and that means that it's like they have to be like in the ranges of almost like 50 meals. How many 50 meal network people right? So I feel that right now, and no wonder why I'm seeing more YouTubers just basically calling out, you have to get sats, get your sats, right? They move from Bitcoin to now Satoshis.
Yeah.
So that way you get those fractions, which I think that maybe uh, I feel that that's going to be the trend where people is going to start talking more in sats than regular people. So that way, because at the end of the day, they can start getting like $500 here, right? $1,000 here. And it's just X amount of sats, right? Depending on the price, that will get you that. So I don't feel that it's too late. Again, we are to do an internet. This is not a financial advice, but I do feel that maybe people are thinking, well, I cannot get 1 Bitcoin, as might as well get this shitcoin, uh, whatever name you name it, right? From Trump coin to from whatever, right? Whatever is the name of the shitcoin of the day, and I feel that is it's unfortunate because at the end of the day, you are getting chunk of Bitcoin. In my opinion, is like it's better if you do it. I used to have some Ethereum. I transformed those a few years back into Bitcoin. When I was thinking all of these, what was kind of the strategy, my own strategy, I was thinking, you know what, it's time for me to start just focusing on the winner, and I have not been wrong so far, so that's great.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Michael Saylor is thinking the same way. He's even doubling down, figuring out kind of unique ways to fund buying more Bitcoin. So, he's even trying to, um, you know, use financial engineering ways to like figure out, okay, how can I get more Bitcoin? So he's making these buys like all the time. So you'll see him, like you'll see a little price dip, he's buying. You see the price go up, he's buying. It doesn't really matter. He's just kind of always buying. I guess it's kind of a DCA for the business, right? It's just a little bit bigger than what most of us can do um, on a weekly basis. But you know what? Again, congrats to Michael Saylor on the cover of Forbes. I think it's obviously well deserved. A lot of people are looking to him to help provide that framework for how their business, their company can also add Bitcoin to their strategic reserve, put it on their balance sheet so that they can also have the same type of returns that they've been able to have. So I think it's just a good showing that long term value is there for all these companies are going to end up putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Yeah.
A lot of people quotes him, right? Because he comes up with a very catchy phrases, and even the way that he's framing things, like energy and Bitcoin is just kind of the new Manhattan on the cyberspace, right? Like all of these different metaphors, it allows to people to understand the concepts, right? Because some of these concepts are kind of new, right? In humanity, we never had this technology that which is the blockchain to be able to be independent of any organization. Before you needed an organization or a government to account for all of that. So I feel that he has been a great ambassador independently. So I think that well deserved that he has been recognized on even Forbes.
Yeah, yeah. This it's a great thing. Well, speaking of price, let me share my screen here again. We have seen that. Uh, we have seen that even though we are above 100K right now, um, we haven't seen the typical indicators that we might normally see as it's about to get to kind of like the ultimate cycle top. So just looking real quickly here, you can see kind of this is just the price chart of Bitcoin. You can see all the cycles and how it hits the top. But usually you see a point of nearly vertical growth of the realized cap, which is basically the market cap at based off of when
We are like
folks bought
the
Bitcoin.
John Travolta meme, like where are all of the crypto bros, man? All of the Wall Street bets, DJs. I think that that's what is happening. Retail are missing action, right? So, um, what do you think that is happening though? Why do you think that they haven't jumped into the wagon? The news are awesome. I mean, we have been in this industry for a while, right? More
Yeah.
than a decade, and it's like it cannot be even like the best news ever, right? Like right now, you have a government, a new administration that is like pro crypto. You have all of these news. You have like other institutions acquiring it. There is bankers that they are getting allowed to hold Bitcoin, right? A bunch of regulations. Where are they?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think part of it is like this goes in cycles, right? And while yes, at this point in the cycle, if you're looking like at things like a stock to flow says like right now we should be like at 300K or something like that or 400K. So, so part of it is that typically you'll see the market top, kind of 18 months after the halving, which was happened like last January, February, March, sometime in that time frame. So 18 months after that, that'll place it like sometime this fall, maybe October, November, something like that, where we will see the market top for the cycle. But here's famous last words. This time, I think could be different. You don't know, just because even from the beginning of the cycle, we did see that it behaved a little bit differently. So we hit a new all time high before we actually hit the halving. Usually, we don't hit a new all time high until after the halving. So even from the beginning of this cycle, we saw that there were some differences. We did see a big run up a little bit earlier than anticipated. And then, we kind of accumulated. What I'm seeing this cycle is that we do a run up and then we have kind of this accumulation phase. We do another run up and we have like this accumulation phase. The accumulation phases have seemed to be maybe a little bit longer than normal or longer than what we might normally see before it makes the next run up. I think this could probably be a good thing because I think that means every time we build a new accumulation phase, it makes it that much stronger. So maybe on the downside of the cycle where things come back down, it may not come back down as forcefully as it has in other cycles where you see the 80% drawdown. And a lot of this could be because now it's really a lot more institutional investors that are out there. They don't want to see these big drawdowns. Retail, whatever, right? They know it's a risky asset, or at least it has been in the past. Now it's become a little bit more traditional, safer asset. Even Warren Buffett is investing in it. Now it's maybe a little bit different with these large institutional investors. They're going to make sure that in these accumulation phases, it's going to hold before they make the next run up. So I think that could be part of it. And again, part of the cycle, probably not for another 10 months or so, maybe 8 months, 8 to 10 months away, is typically when we see the big run up. But this is just pointing out one of the indicators that's still there that usually you see. There's a big spike in the realized cap, usually before we make that big run up onto this. where we hit the
I'm not aware
euphoria
what is
stage or
the
the banana zone.
yeah, I'm not aware what is the realized market cap. Usually for me, the market cap is just the size of the whole asset.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's like
what that
the total mined Bitcoin times the current price. That's how market cap is. But um, the realized cap is like it's based off of not the current price of Bitcoin, but on what the price is that people bought into it. So right now, it's around the 40K mark, 40 to 45K mark of the realized cap price. That's what it is right now. So this is one of the indicators. You might expect to see this start ticking up a little bit once we start to see the market top, which makes sense, right? Prices Bitcoin going up, the average price of people jumping into Bitcoin because of FOMO, it's going to go up. So that's really all this is saying. So we're not there yet. Be patient. This euphoria banana phase is still coming. That's what most the smart money is banking on right now. So just be aware if you're thinking, man, how come Bitcoin's not doing anything? It's at 100K. We've been at 100K already for like, on and off for a couple months. It's like, hey, be patient. The run ups do happen quickly, though. So you have to be sure that when it does happen, you're already in the market. So that's
because
just something to share.
that's the other thing though, because they happen quickly in a matter of hours. Sometimes you cannot even catch it. Like
Yeah.
it just goes right. Like people think that, well, I might have time. Right now is the time, right? Because right now it's very flat, right, in its own way. It's still in the volatility has gone up to 90 something, right? So this is kind of for us is like it's not moving, right? Like this is normal. The drawdowns of 5% is like nothing. Sometimes we actually expect even in a bull market a drawdown of 30%, which is bananas, right? Like that's the drawdown for the market, right? Like, oh, that's one of the big crashes ever for Bitcoin. Is just the normal breathing of the
It's a
instrument.
Monday.
That's right.
Right.
So don't be a fool. Don't get checked out, right? Like don't over leverage, yeah, right? So um, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's true. So just FYI, you're going to see a lot of articles out there saying, "Oh, something's wrong or something's going on." Just realize things are on track right now, and there's just a ton of good news of what's to come. So be patient. Make sure you're in the market. Again, not financial advice, but this is typically where the market cycle goes up. Is later in this year, so just be ready for it.
The other thing that I want to highlight here: follow the money. Do what the actual smart money is doing, right? Like even governments. Right now, within the news, they're saying that about 15 states are considering a strategy with Bitcoin reserve, right? Um, so uh, put the things together, right? It's like even if you don't want to listen to us, listen to your governments, right? What they're doing, right, with their money, and you can see all of these different people, and again, they used to have like their gold reserves. As we are seeing in all of these, I think that they're gonna end up selling the golden metal and changing it for a digital energy, right? So it's a lot. 15 states is a lot.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and this is just the beginning. A lot of this has come up just because of the latest regulations that we've seen and the encouragement by the federal government that they are putting together the digital asset stockpile, aka the Bitcoin reserve. Um, so a lot of states are following suit, and like Mando said, there's 15 of them that are already there. And if you're following the money, that's where it's all going. So again, people are saying, "Hey, this is going to be the new gold." Potentially, gold probably still has a place and things like that. But in terms of a reserve asset, it looks like Bitcoin is going to be one of the big players here. Of course, they labeled the DAS digital asset stockpile a little bit differently than just a Bitcoin reserve, but a lot of the states are just calling it a Bitcoin reserve. So it's pretty interesting how all of this is coming, uh, you know, at the state level. They're all putting all these different bills. This is just going to make Bitcoin a lot more stable. It's going to make the value go up, and it's going to be a lot more of a secure environment for people to invest in.
The other thing is like, all right, let's say that you're invested on the stock market or Nasdaq or whatever. It's very hard to move things around. Like if you have a 9 to 5 like gig, like what are you gonna do with that capital, right? Like, are you gonna put it on like cash? I have some friends that they are very conservative. Like their strategy is like, hey, I don't care, I just wanted my money to not fluctuate. Good, right? Like that's your thing, right? So, um, but there is no many options, and right now the interest rates are um, a bit high, so you can get maybe 4%, 5%, right? Like here, at least here in America. Um, but inflation is just it's gonna eat you up, right? So I was telling Ramirez that I saw in Reddit a post of this guy was saying, "Hey, I have a 25% in cash. What's the big deal? Why
Yeah.
everybody doesn't like my strategy, right?" What's your take there?
I did see that post too. So 25% in cash. It's not just sitting there under his mattress or anything like that. He does actually have it invested still. But he's just getting the basic, right? 4% in a money market or something like that. So while yes, he could be making much bigger gains, he's just saying like, hey, like it's 25% of my account. Uh, but I already have a lot of money anyways. I don't really care that much about what if this is making more money or not. Like, is this okay? I mean, think about it though. If inflation is like between 3 and 5%, right? Real inflation, um, he's already kind of just breaking even. But then on top of that, the 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 return that he's getting right now, it's very tax inefficient in that he's likely going to have to pay in the 40% tax bracket for that as income. So, you know, considering both like the inflation plus the tax inefficiency, he's probably still losing money over time. So if you invest that money in something else that's a little bit more tax efficient, maybe you can, you know, only have to pay long-term capital gains, right? And so that should be a little bit less uh, tax, so he can keep more of his money. But like you said, he doesn't really care. He's got enough money anyways. Like, what does it matter to him? He doesn't care about leaving a legacy. He doesn't care about leaving the money to someone else. Interesting thought. I guess it's less work for him.
I, I think that maybe gets to a point where it's like when you already ate and you're in a buffet, right? And they are like, it's like, but this is a filet mignon. Like, bro, I'm full. Thank you, right? So I think that maybe this guy is like that. It's like,
Yeah. No more, no mas, no mas.
yeah, exactly, no more, no more, right? Like, thank you, thanks, but no thanks. So I I I think that is I can see the psychology aspect of it, that people will think about it. I know that is weird, and that's the reason why it catch my attention, because once again, there are not that many people that like screw it, right? I have enough. This is my share, and I don't care, because I think that also the psychology aspect is there, where this person prefers to just see the money there, doesn't move, doesn't, even if it drops, doesn't matter. um it's a psychological thing, in my opinion.
For sure. I mean, yeah, I probably keep more money than I should in just my normal account. But just because, like, you never know, we're going to need, 20, 30, 40K to do something. You need to just have it there. So not everything is all about the gains, right? A lot of times it's like, well, I just need that security there, or I might need something available in case I see a deal that I want to buy something and I need it there now, there's those things that you do have to consider, and for him, that safety or security is worth more than the extra 10% that he might make on his cash there.
Yeah, and you see also other Bitcoiners that they are saying, it's funny for me that how they have to disclose this to people, that like, hey guys, I'm gonna sell some Bitcoin in this bull run. Last time was tough. I wrote it up and wrote it down. This time I'll sell 10%, 20%. It's just funny to me that they have to tell the audience this thing. But I think that is more also for the psychology, right? Because it's hard. It's hard to see like all of this going 10x and coming back to 80%. It is tough, and you might have to endure all of this several years, right? So for those cycles. So I can see why the different angles, right? Somebody that is very like a maxi in a Bitcoin maxi, and another person that is like doesn't like volatility, but it's just psychology altogether.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's hurt. It has hurt. I'm what, 4 cycles in? This is my 4th cycle.
Yeah.
And it was in the 2nd cycle that it really got me, where I'm like, oh man, I already know what it's going to do. I see it coming. And that's how I lost like a big chunk of my stack, right? It's like I tried to get cute and do some buy and sell and la la la. And like, nope, it moves too fast. And then it's just like you can't get back in. And then when you do, then you have to pay all these taxes, and it just eats away at your stuff. And for me, it just was like, okay, I understand what it's going to do. I understand it's going to keep going up. Why bother? But the numbers are starting to get a lot bigger too now. So if it's going to drop from 5 million to 1 million, it's like, oh yeah, that's a per coin. That's a little tough. So I can see that.
Yeah, I think that maybe we see options, we see different financial instruments that will allow banks to hold them. So I feel that because shit happens, you basically, if you got a child, you need the house, like you need a Lambo,
The basics.
the basics, like it's priorities, man. Priority. A G-Wagon, so it's like you might have to, and instead of selling it, and you have like the instrument, and it's basically even less interest, because I will hope that that you can just put a collateral, and then maybe they charge you interest 2% instead of the 7, 8, 10%, right? Whatever it is the interest rates right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm optimistic that we'll start seeing instruments from the banks.
Yeah, I think so. So I think that's just getting back to the states going into kind of this strategic reserve. I think it's going to go towards the stability of it, the security of Bitcoin. It's seen less so as a risky investment. A lot of folks are, even without them knowing, going to be invested 5% just because their brokerages are already doing it for them. If they own MicroStrategy, they have it. If they own some of Berkshire Hathaway, they're invested in it, right? So it's just like you're going to be exposed to it, whether you know it or not. All right. Well, and a lot of it also has to do, like, things are changing with this new administration. It's getting a lot friendlier for Bitcoin. So much so that Tesla got some help. And MicroStrategy may be on the hook for something here. So let me share my screen here. Got to pick the screen. There's a new change. There's a change to one of the FASB rules where that says that allows companies to account for Bitcoin's value on a mark-to-market basis, reflecting its current market price. So this part isn't necessarily completely new. I think in the previous administration, they had said, well, if Bitcoin's price goes down, you need to reflect that, and you hold it in your accounts. You need to reflect that when you're doing your fiscal announcements and things like that. And so a lot of folks were like, hey, man, that's not fair that I have to do it only when Bitcoin goes down and not when it goes up. Well, so that part's changed. Now you can also include your assets or your crypto assets as the price goes up too. So we did see that Tesla saw $600 million worth of their Bitcoin be used as part of their holdings in their recent announcements. Did you hear about this, Mando?
Yeah, and I was reading through it because I was like, this is interesting how sometimes the they have to report this in public companies. I was looking some of the numbers. They were saying that it was like a 85 millions, and then they wrote it up to a billion, and then they were able to have 600 millions in that they can claim it as an income. So, which is great for that the stock, right? If you're holding Tesla stock, it's nice. So I'm glad that again the government is making it more fair, more clear, and that's the only thing that I was asking before, right? Like make it clear for us, because it was very weird. Like, and in some point I was fearing that they will treat us like criminals because you're holding Bitcoin, right? And they haven't. It was not well regulated. It was going in that direction. I feel that right now it's a completely a different administration, but I felt that in some point. I mean, and I'm glad that they um, basically released this guy, right, Ross, because that kind of is part of that mindset. It's like, hey, so the guy already spent some time, right, on jail for the crimes that he did, but now it's enough. That kind of helps to set the stage and the framing from the government to Bitcoiners.
Yeah, Ross had a big impact into the adoption of Bitcoin, right? It was really the first killer app, you could call it, right? For Bitcoin was its use on Silk Road. So, in his way, he did his part. He played the role of really bringing Bitcoin out to the initial masses. And that's how a lot of people first heard about it. But those people told their friends about it too. Hey, have you heard about this? I know I heard it once before from someone that may have been using Silk Road, and
A friend.
and I wrote it off. I was like, no, I don't know what that is. Like, they're like, look into it. It's like, okay, yeah. Then a year later, it's like, oh shit, it's real. Okay, how do we get into it? And fortunately, as techies started talking about it, I said, let's play with it. So it did end up being a good thing. So here's the thing. So good for Tesla, right? But how's this going to affect MicroStrategy? So MicroStrategy, of course, they've got a big bag of Bitcoin, and under these new FASB rules for the financial reporting, they may have to include, or they will have to include, I think, maybe not this year, but in the following year, their unrealized gains. So they haven't sold the Bitcoin, but they need to still report them as gains. And if that happens, then they probably have to pay taxes on that. So, this new regulation kind of cuts both ways. I guess you can't have your cake and eat it too. So, but it's part of. This is still part of. I guess the general acceptance of Bitcoin. The government's going to get their cut one way or another. So at least if he pays those taxes, I'm assuming it'll raise his cost basis anyways, so that when it does go down, or if it does go down, he's able to then write off those losses as well. So
Yeah, for sure. Now, moving on Tesla, now that we're talking about Tesla, uh, driverless taxis in Austin coming soon.
Yeah, if y'all haven't seen these, we probably talked about the Cybercab not too long ago, right? We did. It looks pretty cool, actually. I don't think I would. I don't think I would mind driving one of these, but it doesn't have a steering wheel, dude.
Interesting. So it's like
Does
if
it or
you
does it
see
not?
that thing is going like on a on a cliff, like you're doomed.
Well, I hope not. Well, so in Austin, they're seeing that Tesla is going to be having their cyber cabs out there, and they're going to be rolling around around town, I guess, being Ubers and things like that, taking people for rides. Would you get on one?
I'll wait a little bit of time because Austin. I mean, we have been in Austin several months already, a couple times. Uh, it's not an easy city because the city grew so much and the streets are small. It's not like in Houston that it was kind of almost very well planned because it was growing outside and it's very flat. Then they can make all of these different um, plants and all of that. Over there in Austin, they just were growing, and it's like kind of our Silicon like Valley here in the Texas, right? The South Silicon Valley, which is kind of hilly, right? Not as hilly as other places. But yeah, I want to see how it's doing.
That's true. We'll get reports of how many crashes there are out there. Now, don't get us wrong. We both have FSD right on our cars, so we know how it works. We know its limitations. I still think it's actually doing really, really, really well at this point. So I can see it's not too far to be able to really see a cyber cab out there without any input being able to do well. I imagine that they are going to just map the heck out of that area in Austin, so that it really knows those roads like the back of its hand, and it can really easily navigate around there. I know that Tesla's been known to identify where certain YouTubers actually live and map out that area really good, so that when they're doing their live YouTube FSD drives, like, it doesn't have any issues, right? So they know how to kind of get that. They know how to get that extra bump in performance. So hopefully, I'm assuming that that's what they're going to be doing out there, making sure that it understands the roads really well. They'll probably add some compute to that area so that it really, really understands it, and they're not going to they'll have less issues, right?
Yeah, and if you think that you're listening this and Eric is like smoking something, no, this is like it happens to other companies, right? Like Uber did that. Like literally, they had an operation to be able to have people around in the contrary, like to not give them a ride. So they have the app, and maybe some of the government officials, they knew that in certain areas they were living, and they will not give them a ride, right? So they have a way to identify people for whatever reason, right? So FSD, going back to FSD, I love it, but I do have to intervene every time that I use it, right? Like one or twice, and it's part of my own like kind of driving. Like, oh crap, this is too slow, or this is too fast, or whatever, right? Whatever reason, but it's quite there yet. It's probably 90%, right? Now, something that it came out on the news too is that they are in talks to be able to license FSD to other car makers, which, man, that will open a bunch of different opportunities, right? Because right now it's like, man, when I'm driving another car, I miss FSD.
So true. So true. I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm not really sure what car I'd like it in. I don't know. I don't think Lamborghini is gonna license it. I don't know. I think I would want to be the one driving the Lamborghini, not FSD, anyways. So I don't know. Maybe it's
Anything
I
else?
don't
Like
know.
maybe even Mercedes. I like their interiors, right?
It makes a lot of sense for all the luxury
Mhm.
vehicles, like your Lexus, your Mercedes, your BMW, things like that. I mean, perfect sense for that. They should license it to all those.
Yeah, and for the sport cars, as you say, maybe not, right? So
Mhm.
your Ferraris, your Lambos, whatever it is. Yeah, but yeah, I'm excited. I think that independently we should see maybe the numbers in 5 years for the accidents in America, for car accidents, decrease.
Mhm.
I hope, because and there is a lot of people. Maybe if you have like some sort of sickness, just push the button and it will take you, right? So um,
I
once
did
again, maybe
it. I had the flu in December. I was like, I need some meds, but didn't want my wife to take me so she wouldn't get sick. So I just climbed into the Cybertruck, pushed the button, and it took me. I'm like, oh. The doctor's
yeah.
like, how'd you get here?
The other one is like
I was like, you have a ride home? I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine.
yeah, you shouldn't drink and drive, but if at the end of the day that happens, just push the button and like to take you, right? So that instead of actually you driving and
Hmm.
causing an accident, right? So there is all goodness. Once that thing is working, you'll see also that coming across the United States, and which is awesome because right now I'm not sure what is the percentage of cars that they have FSD, but it's minuscule, right? So It's not like the like a big amount. So I feel that it will take maybe 10 years to get FSD or a sort of FSD for all of the cars, or even more, maybe 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But this is for sure the first step for make sure all the regulations, all the legislation is in place. It's kind of a smaller area in Austin, so it's a controlled environment. They'll be able to see what needs to be updated, what needs to be changed, and hopefully be able to set a framework for uh, other states or other cities to be able to adopt the legislation or regulations that are needed to allow for FSD on all vehicles, right, or unsupervised driving. So it's pretty exciting. I think it's great. I like it.
The other thing that happens though is when I live in Seattle for several years, I didn't have a car. It didn't make sense to have a car over there because Uber was everywhere, and I was in
Mm.
this city, so I was paying. I'm trying to remember. There was a package that they will give you, and my trips were like $4. So it's like, and then the issue in Seattle, any big city downtown, parking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was even better and cheaper because you just leave it there and so on, right? Like in New York, it doesn't make sense for you to have a car because the subway or the public transportation is pretty good. So I think that maybe that could happen, that it's so cheap and affordable and it's okay and reliable that you might not need a car in those areas, right? So we'll see how society starts shifting once that all of that infrastructure is in place.
Yeah, I mean, once we don't need vehicles, you never know. People might be just lighting their Cybertrucks on fire.
I saw that one, man. Do you have it? Maybe let's is they call it the, let me see, the cyber trash. Dude, a nice piece of art, let me tell you, like
It looks cool.
tell the audience what happened here, right?
So apparently, I think it's an abandoned Cybertruck, isn't it? Like,
It is
and
abandoned in LA. So we have this abandoned Cybertruck in LA, and look at the graffiti that they put in this thing.
it looks
Uh,
cool.
it looks cool, but also the other thing
It's
that
not a
I
wrap, though, huh?
is not a wrap, and it's abandoned, right? So they don't know who it is or whatever. The other thing, the weird thing, if you scroll up a little bit, I don't know if how they cut the frunk, because actually the whole frunk is supposed to lift,
Oh
but I think
yeah,
that, but I think that they cut it somehow.
yeah. It does look cut.
Yeah, so
That's interesting.
yeah, I mean it's all bit up. Like
Well, we just thought it was kind of an interesting picture here. I I mean, here's the thing: if it was my Cybertruck and like I don't know, it short circuited or something, and I just like left it out there for a week or something until Tesla could come pick it up, I wouldn't want it to be tagged up like that or even burnt to a crisp. What are these people doing?
dude, in some places like in Dubai, they abandoned, but that's a different thing. They abandoned these supercars because it's
Hmm.
illegal to not pay your loans, so you'll go to jail. So basically what happens is that they don't want to get in jail and they just disappear. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure here why. Maybe the person died, right? So we'll see. We'll try to follow what happened to this person.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, either way, we just thought it was it was an interesting one to look at. But I have seen some other ones. I think in Seattle actually, where there was an abandoned Cybertruck there for whatever reason, and it became like a an Instagram spot where people came and it got added to some kind of local like tourist attractions list or something where you could go take an Instagram picture with the abandoned Cybertruck. So it became just a normal spot where people just came by to take pictures. Kind of funny.
It is. It is.
Oh gosh. Oh, okay. Here's this other one. Actually, this just came out last night, so I thought it was pretty cool. So, of course, we know these cyber cabs are coming to Austin. And I guess at some point they are going to be like fully autonomous. So, no one's going to own them. I suppose Tesla might own them, or some people might decide that they can buy some of these cyber cabs and run them. Well, a big thing that takes place is that you got to clean these. Well, Tesla's come up with a solution for this. Check this out.
I wake, I clean, I live. They leave gifts for me. So kind.
Dude, you know the type of gifts that they're going to leave there, right?
It's too funny. So they've got this self-cleaning car, or a robot vacuum, I guess you could call it. Right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting. They just released this last night. It's too funny. So they're obviously thinking of the infrastructure that it's going to take to have a fleet of these cyber cabs, and knowing that people are going to be going in and out of them and just causing a mess. There needs to be an easy way to get them cleaned, right? Mm-hmm. And it looks like they're coming up with a robo vacuum of some sort to automate the cleaning, or at least a vacuuming of the inside of these cyber cabs.
Yeah, I mean, if not, it's going to be nasty, right? Like after X amount of trips.
They might need to do more than just vacuuming. Just spray it down or something.
Well, people don't realize that it's like there is a bunch of cameras in the Teslas. So, and people sometimes vandalize them. It's like, bro, they'll find you. They have angles from like all kinds, like when you're walking, when you're leaving, from, back, right? So, and it's just funny to me because people, once again, they don't know that there's cameras everywhere on the cars, right? So similar for even inside of the in the cabin. So I think that if you're planning to do some things inside of the cab, think it twice, because they
I don't know what you're thinking of doing, Mando, but I only do that stuff in my own vehicles.
And then you put a post-it in your camera.
Don't look.
I know what you're doing. You're freaking like do you remember, like in the pandemic, everybody was like not used to the cameras on the laptops, right? It was kind of a time where it's like, I just wake up for the meeting.
Yeah, big brother.
Then they were selling some of the stickers to put it there, or even like camera blockers just to move it. Maybe they're gonna have that in the cameras.
That's true. Funny. It's true. I mean, you probably need them. There must be something. But the thing is, whenever you obscure that camera, it becomes it nags you a lot whenever you're doing FSD, when it's driving for you. And once you watch your eyes, where are you, or what are you doing, or you got to keep tugging on the wheel. Well,
for sure.
All right. Last thing here that we'll share today. We did mention last week, talking a little bit about the new DeepSeek AI model that everyone's like, it's so good, but it's from China, or it's Chinese. They're looking at all your information. Well, it turns out, they found a database like had all of the queries or all the searches that people were doing. So just a friendly reminder, like, anonymize what you're putting in there. Don't put Mando Gomez has checkups to look at, like all of your medical stuff. It's like, you got to be careful what you put in there, because there's folks like DeepSeek that, obviously security, let's just say, is not at the top of mind for them right now. Privacy, stuff like that. They're just trying to get it out and beat ChatGPT, OpenAI, which it seems like they have done, but they got found out a little bit. Someone was able to access that.
To be able to advance technology, right? The rabbit is out of the hat. But yeah, just as you said, Eric, don't be a fool, right? Don't be a dummy. Don't put this is my social security, right? So the other thing, though, is that David Sachs, now he's the czar of crypto and AI, right? Mm-hmm. He basically said there is substantial evidence that DeepSeek stole information from OpenAI. There is a saying in Mexico, though, they say ladrón que roba ladrón, which in probably in English will be something like a thief who's a still thief, something like that.
Yeah.
Dude,
Mhm.
OpenAI did the same. They were milking data from Reddit, from Twitter, from Google, right? So, ah, tough. It is tough. I guess because these ones are American companies, and that allows them. And yeah, in some point they have to pay. They start saying, "Hey, we would like to pay the license," but that was after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Well, yeah, it's kind of funny that they're crying wolf here, or they're like, hey, look at what they did, but whatever. I get it. They're trying to protect their interests. They've got lots of money on the line, and especially now they're like, oh, DeepSeek was able to do everything at like 10% of the cost. It caused a market meltdown this last week. Nvidia
Maybe
tanked,
they
tech
didn't need
tanked.
the 500 billions.
Yeah. So I was like, too late, got your money. So we'll see what happens with that. But speaking on that, there's another entrance to the AI model scene, and it is Alibaba. It's like when I saw this, I said, "Did I read that right?" Alibaba came out with Qwen 2.5, which is, I guess, a DeepSeek rival. Only, I guess that it's a Chinese internet company, but Alibaba, I just use it to buy my random stuff, random stuff out there,
From
my
Timu.
knockoff equipment. Well, Alibaba came out here and they're like a new AI contender. They launched their own generative AI model to compete with DeepSeek, and it's actually delivering high performance with also lower training costs than even DeepSeek. So it's like people are like, huh? So DeepSeek was already 10% the cost of OpenAI, and now Alibaba is a percentage lower than that. It's like it's really coming down a lot. But that's what we expect to see with competition, right? That's what we want to see as a consumer. For sure, we want to see that because eventually we're going to get these models on our cell phones to be able to run locally and things like that. So it's like, yeah, keep going.
This one it reminds me though of the cost of sequencing human genome. So it was in the billions and it
Mhm.
got to $600. So I can see something like this here, right? Like you have like billions of that is taking you to train it and all of that. And in some points will be like you can just run it in your watch, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty interesting how this landscape is continuing to evolve. I was looking to see if I could run it locally. Everyone's trying to see if you can run DeepSeek locally. It still takes quite a bit of hardware to get it going, but I think someone on Reddit said they have a $6,000 rig that you can do it to get DeepSeek running um, on it locally, the full thing. So that's pretty interesting. But I think it wasn't using necessarily GPUs to do the VRAM. It was using like just normal RAM or normal memory to hold everything instead of having GPU VRAM. So I don't think it was as quick as it could be, but still, you're running the full DeepSeek locally on a machine that only costs $6,000. Where right now, I think the RTX 5090 just released, and it was selling for, if you could get your hands on it, for 2,000. Of course, I'm sure you could buy one for 10K on eBay this week. So that's just for one GPU. So just to give you a frame of reference there. So pretty interesting stuff. Again, I guess we'll see if, I don't know if Alibaba's got theirs available. I was trying to use DeepSeek this week. I don't know if you had a chance to use it, Mando, but when I
Yeah,
went
sure.
to when I went there to use it, it said it was under attack. I couldn't even set up my
The user.
login to use
I
it.
did set it up before, but yeah, right now it has been having trouble on the user and login. So yeah,
Yeah, so no information to report here so far on DeepSeek, but I am very interested. I wonder if they're. I know they do have versions of DeepSeek that don't have the full amount. um, so that you can load it on smaller, less powerful systems. So I might look to see if I can run it locally. DeepSeek also did release their forget, I think it's called Janus, the Janus model for its multimodal, their multimodal model. So basically it can do not just the LLM stuff, but it can also do like the pictures and stuff like that. So that's been released too. That'll be fun to play around with. It's just really interesting to see that, DeepSeek comes in out of nowhere, and then out of nowhere Alibaba comes out and tries to steal their thunder. So very interesting times here.
Yeah, for sure. I want to thank the audience though, because all of the different affiliates, thanks for using our promotion code. So we always put in our episode. So thank you. We it helps the channel, right? Also, thanks for subscribing. It's growing, so which is great. It's always nice when you're doing this type of like creating content and you see that people is liking it, that there are comments, engagement. So thank you for the love and share.
Yeah, definitely. So like, subscribe, and comment. But that's all we've got for today. We'll see y'all next time. Dale.
Bye.